And we're now going to delve into what can we do about it. And one of the really important things, I think the most important thing, is to do the colonoscopy properly. And it's a sad fact that in 2023, colonoscopy is still not done as well as it can be.
So why is this ADR so important measure for us, colonoscopists and endoscopists, and why is it so important for our patients? This is because there is an inverse relationship between ADR and the risk of post-colonoscopy colorectal cancer and also post-colonoscopy colorectal cancer death. So this was exemplified in at least those two studies which you can see in here by Doug Crowley already around 10 years ago, inverse association between ADR and PCCRC, and also in our study later on, which showed that even if you were a poor performing physician, but you improved your performance over time, the risk of post-colonoscopy colorectal cancer in your patients decreases. Further on, there is even more accumulating evidence. So my take-home messages for you are that there is a high variation of ADR, which is mostly driven by endoscopist's performance. The second thing, there is a clear association between ADR and post-colonoscopy colorectal cancer and colorectal cancer death, that there are minimum ADR standards which were defined for both primary colonoscopy and FIT positive colonoscopy, but there is no target ADR standard. But we've learned recently that there will be decreasing benefit beyond 20-25% ADR, which is currently recommended as a minimum standard. And last thing on AI, we know that computer-assisted detection improves detection of adenomas, but it has uncertain effect on detection of difficult or advanced lesions and on reducing variation in quality and in consequence on the things which are the most important for us, reduction in colorectal cancer incidence and mortality. Thank you so much.
Well, if I can jump in and ask first, where is motivation in this in terms of individuals? And the second question, the follow-on question for that is, do you think you can train people to move from low detectors to high detectors, or does the evidence not support that?
Both you and I are in the field for quite a long time, and I think that we understood quite well that motivation here is really critical. I don't think that there is really good evidence behind that, but a kind of improvement that you see after simple training endoscopies, which cannot cause really like instant improvement in their technique because it will need some time. They just get much more motivated.
And if you find something that you think is recurrence and you are a resectionalist, I think you should just remove it. You should do that with either a combination of a snare, a biopsy forceps, and then some sort of coagulation over the top. But if you are not sure and you're not doing resection, absolutely, you should biopsy it to see whether you think it's recurrence or not. The problem with that is that multiple studies show that it's not reliable in terms of determining whether there's recurrence or not.
How to optimize the service to allow optimal endoscopist performance. Thank you. Right. So what I'm talking about is how we manage the service, or what can we do to help the endoscopist. I would imagine most of you out there can be in very stressed environments. You don't have the kit available. Patients land up on your list that you shouldn't be on your list, and all sorts of stuff happens. And I think we can do that a lot better. And these are the 4 things that we can do. And Shuan's going to deal with the bottom one. I'm going to mainly deal with the top one. So I think there's something about process, planning of lists, safety checks without repetition, having parallel working rather than sequential processes. And one of the things I always say is that you need to, the 4 hours or 3 hours or 6 hours you have for your list, you need to maximize the time available for scoping. So you need to start on time, you need to have efficient turnaround time. So you want the maximum time possible for the scope in the patient. My colleague John would like some clear exit pathways so he doesn't have to think about what happens next. He just says, this patient goes down this pathway and it happens. He doesn't have to phone anybody or email anybody or arrange any tests or anything like that. I think the environment has to be conducive to doing endoscopy. You don't want interruptions. You want the temperature to be good. And the endoscopist, and I'm guilty of this, as I'm often running very sort of dry in the morning. I need to remember to drink fluids to keep myself as fit as possible. But I'd like you just to think, firstly, you may become one of these leaders in the future. If you're not at the moment, that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I think I just implore you to just do one thing when you go back home, whoever you are, even if you're an established endoscopist, is to do some colonoscopy lists with your colleagues and just chat about, you do one, the other person does one, and then you just chat about what you're doing and just chat about what you've learned today and spread the word on ADR and get people to read. There's like 4 or 5 key papers that I think every colonoscopist should be, dare I say, forced to read and understand, because it's not appreciated out there how important it is to remove all the pathology, or that's our current understanding.